This is Buckle, another little rope horse. One thing I think a lot of people make a mistake about when they're checking their horses is checking the positions of their feet, right? A lot of times people will walk up to their horse, even when I come out to adjust the horse, and they'll say, oh, his pelvis is high or pelvis is high, and they don't check the feet, right? So the pelvis moves with the legs, right? As the one leg goes forward and one leg goes back, the pelvis is doing this. And the bumps you're seeing are my thumbs up here. They're called the PSISs, or posterior superior iliac spines, or they're also called the tubersacrales in horses. And when the horse is moving, the pelvis is doing this. And those tubersacrales are going up and back and up and back. So if your horse's feet are not square, let's say the horse's right leg is forward like this, that's going to rotate that PSIS or that tubersacrale back and up on that side, so it's going to look high. Conversely, it's going to make this side look low because when you move one leg forward, the other leg has to go into extension, right? So flexion and extension, flexion and extension. So if you're checking your horse's pelvis, or you're concerned that your horse's pelvis is high on one side, just make sure that you're checking to make sure that the feet are square when you're checking the pelvis, because if not, you're not going to get an accurate assessment of what's actually going on up there. And you might call a chiropractor or a vet or somebody to come out and take a look at it, and they're going to square them up, and that pelvis is going to be nice and level the vast majority of the time. So just make sure that you're checking your horse's pelvis with their feet square if you think that they have a high side or a low side. All right. So I'm going to square up his feet as much as possible. They don't have to be perfect, but as close as you can get them. Come on. He wants to rest but one side, so he's being a little bit of a pail. That's close enough right there. That's a good boy. Don't want to screw with him too much. That looks good. All right. So when I first pulled him out, I was thinking that left side was high, and then I checked his feet, and that left leg was way forward of the right. So of course it's going to make this side feel high. So I need to make sure that he's square when I'm evaluating the pelvis. And that's a really nice feeling. So when I'm applying pressure on that point of the hip in a down and forward motion, what I'm doing is I'm checking the motion of the SI joint when that leg on that side goes into extension. So I'm extending the SI joint. And what I want to feel is that I can push and make that joint go into extension, and then it springs back. So I should push and feel it spring back, and push and feel it spring back. If I push and there's no give, that's a problem. And if I push and it doesn't spring back, that's also a problem. So I want to feel that play, that joint play is what we call it, and make sure that I'm getting that nice, easy movement in the direction that I'm pushing, and then that the joint springs back when I take off my pressure. So that's what I'm checking there. When he's a little, yeah, you can see he's walking at it. He's a little more restricted on this side than he is on the left side. That's a good boy. Now, when I'm adjusting him, I don't want the feet square necessarily, because what I want to do is take out as much motion in that joint as I can before I do my adjustment. So if I have to adjust the right side of his pelvis into extension like I need to do, then ideally what I want to do is I want to set him up so that that leg is already in extension. So I want his back leg to be like this when I go to adjust it, because it takes out all that excess play, that excess joint play in extension, so that I don't have to push all the way through. All I have to do is push a little bit and then boom, because that joint is already taken towards its end range of motion. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to put his right leg behind him a little bit. Even that's fine. I'd like him to go back a little farther. There, that's good right there. Good boy, good boy. He's like, I'm not sure what you're asking me to do, but but I'm trying. Got goop out of your eyes, buddy. There you go. That's a good boy. All right. So I'm going to extend the pelvis with the pressure point. Oh. And again, right, I'm trying to extend that side, and he just wants to walk out of it. Oh. Good boy. So he's confirming, he's confirming what I'm seeing with my palpation by the way he's acting when I'm extending him on that side. So if he won't stay in an extended position, then I'm just gonna adjust him however he'll let me. If that's feet square, then that's feet square. But I definitely don't want him set up like this, where his right leg is forward, because then I'll never get the adjustment. I want his leg either squared up or behind. I'm gonna try to go a little bit behind if he'll do it. One more try. Good boy, right there, that's perfect. Good boy, good boy. Oh. So since he wants to pop off when I'm applying pressure, I'm just gonna sneak this in on him. Just like that. Normally I would try to take my time and really push into that joint before I adjust, but with him, he wants to walk out of it, so he's not making that possible. His name is Buckle, Stella. Yeah, he's super cool. He's a little buckskin head horse. All right, thank you guys for watching. If you guys are enjoying the live, and if you don't mind just hitting that like button for me, I would really appreciate that. Looks like we got 130 people in here, but only 6 likes. If you guys could help me level that out, I would really appreciate that, guys. All right, so when I'm adjusting the pelvis, if I adjust the right side into extension, I need to adjust the left side into flexion. That's how I do it. Because like I said earlier, one side of the pelvis moves opposite of the other. So if one side's coming forward, the other side's going back. Forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. So if I have an issue with the pelvis where one side's stuck high and the other side is stuck low, I need not only to adjust the high side, but I also need to adjust the low side to get those things to be neutral. So I adjust both sides no matter what. So this is going to be a flexion adjustment, and he's standing in extension on this side. So again, I need to either square the feet or put his left foot, his left hind, into flexion. Good. There we go. So I'm just going to try to slowly apply this pressure, and then I'm going to sneak it in on him again. Oh, there we go. Good boy. We'll give him that for a second. I've never adjusted him, so he's probably trying to figure out what the heck is going on. You can tell he wants to shake his head right now, but he's not doing it yet. A little bit there. There's a licking of the lips. Out of your eye, buddy. There we go. So also, after I do an adjustment like this, I want to just give them a few seconds or a minute to incorporate that, if you will, or I want them to be able to kind of get over the first one before I do the second one. That's good. And when they look like they're ready, then I'll go on to the next thing. Yeah, Gary, I am. I'm just outside of Phoenix. This guy is 7. All right, and I'm going to check his range of motion in his neck, so I want him to come around and touch my hand at his shoulder over here. So I'm just trying to activate this pressure point and get him to come around and touch. And he is a very stoic horse, and sometimes when you're dealing with horses that are like that, it takes a little bit more pressure, and you just have to spend a little bit more time and be patient. So I'm just going to wait on him and see if he'll come around and touch, or he'll walk out of it, one of the two. But I'm just going to sit here until he does one of those two things. Good boy. And he doesn't really know what I'm asking, so I'm just being patient. I'm just waiting for him to figure it out. Good boy. Good boy. Just be patient. Good boy. Good boy. You have to take into consideration. Oh, good boy. There we go. So that's good. I mean, you have to take into consideration his demeanor and their discipline. You know, these rope horses can be so tough, right? They're just so tough, and so you know the pressure that would irritate the hell out of a horse in a different discipline, like barrel horse, sometimes doesn't even touch a head horse or a heel horse, right? Because they're just so tough. I mean, they could be former ranch horses. You know, their breeding plays a big part in their demeanor. And so I'm not going to sit there and just pinch the hell out of them to try to get them to come around. At some point, I'm just going to take what I can get. So he rotated about 3/4 of the way to the left. I'm going to see if he'll do the same on the right, but I'm just going to be happy with that. Let's see. So immediately more response to the right. Let's see. All right, so that's all we're gonna get there. But it's about the same range of motion on both sides. He was just a little bit more hesitant to do it on the left than the right. If you guys can just double tap your screens for me, I would really appreciate that. Looks like we got 177 viewers, but only 18 likes. If you could help me get that number up, I would greatly appreciate that, guys. Just double tap your screen. That's all you need to do. Thank you so much. There we go. Thank you very much, guys. All right, so I'm going to check his pole and see if we can't find something that's causing him to be so restricted here. There we go. It's so interesting. When I do my lives on TikTok, I'll get 20,000 likes on a live. But when I do a live on YouTube, you know, it seems like there's just a hesitancy for people to hit the button. I'm not really sure why. But it's like I'll be lucky to get 100 likes on a video when on TikTok I get 20,000. So it's so strange. But I think the likes actually mean a lot more on YouTube, which is why I just keep asking you guys to hit the button. But you know, if you don't like the video, don't hit it, of course. Only if you like what you're watching. Oh, all right. See that body language there is like, no, thank you. I don't like that. So I'm just going to see if he'll give this movement to me a little bit. And I'm not really even pushing yet. I got my hand there and I'm asking him to come around with the halter. I'm not pulling his head, right? Because if I pull, then I'm really going to get that response like that. So everything is an ask. I'm just using my hands to be like, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? And if I find that he's got an issue at the same spot on both sides, then it's not something I'm going to be able to fix in the position that I'm in, right? So if I'm applying lateral flexion pressure to the right side of his neck, right? And right side for us is ear to the shoulder like this. Lateral flexion for them is ear to the shoulder like that. So if I'm applying that lateral flexion on the right and he's going, oh, and I'm applying it to the left and he's doing the same thing, I'm not going to adjust the same bone on both sides, right? So I know right away that I'm not on the right spot, but something's got to be causing that. And what movement does the left side and the right side share, right? If I extend my neck, the left and right sides are involved. If I flex my neck, the left and the right sides are involved. If I'm restricted on one side and I go down to flex towards my chest, my head's going to kind of go like this, or it's going to go like this. It's not going to come straight down. But if he's sensitive on both sides of that first cervical, then I'm probably looking at a flexion or an extension issue, not a lateral flexion issue, which is again that ear to the shoulder movement. Yeah, I am. I'm not throwing shade at YouTube. I'm throwing shade at people not hitting the like button. No offense. Yeah, just double tap, guys. That's all you got to do. Hey, thank you, Don. I appreciate that, my friend. Yes, ma'am. I do remember you, Kimberly. My phone overheated on that last video, on that last live. Awesome. All right, so let me check him in extension. So I'm going to bring his head up towards the ceiling and see if he's okay with that. Oh, pull him back, pull him back, pull him back, pull him back, pull him back. He's like, nope, 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 nope. Hey, easy, buddy. A lot of tension in his upper neck with this one. Good boy. Good boy. I know, it's okay. Yeah, so a lot of tension in his upper neck with that one. And when a horse has a lot of tension like that, the last thing you want to do is get up there and yank, right? You're not going to be able to move that sucker if he's going like this. And also with horses, if they're showing a lot of tension or hesitation and extension, they probably need to be adjusted into flexion the other direction. So that's what I'm going to check now, and I'll probably end up adjusting that as well. Thank you guys, getting up there. You got 44. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that, everybody. The likes help us so much. I mean, if we don't get the likes, then YouTube doesn't think that people like the content, and then, you know, we're stuck at low views and we're stuck at low follower counts. So the likes just mean a lot to us. So I appreciate that. Yeah, and if you just double tap your screen, that's how you can like the video. Easy peasy. Thanks, Mark. All right, so I'm going to try to bring his head down to his chest and see if he's more willing to do this one. Usually if they're not willing to go into extension, they are willing to go into flexion. So I'm going to check this one. Let's see. Oh, oh. Good boy. Good boy. Easy. And you can see that he's not the norm. So again, just like the pelvis, right, we can see a kind of a pattern here. When I apply pressure to the pelvis, he goes back. When I apply pressure to the pole, he goes back. When I apply pressure to the sides of the pole, he goes back, right? So he's not enjoying having pressure put on him at all. But he's perfectly fine with the pressure points, right? He didn't have great range of motion, but he stood here while I applied the pressure. But when I'm actually applying pressure, like physical pressure, he wants to go away. So maybe a little trauma or something like that has happened to this guy. Maybe a long time ago when he was being broke, you know, he was broke by a really heavy-handed trainer or someone who wasn't very nice to him. But we're dealing with a different animal here than we were with Leroy a few minutes ago. Still pretty sweet, but this guy seems like he's just subdued. There we go. See if he'll come down. There we go. Good boy. Oh, there we go. Good boy. Good boy. Now I'm going to give him that for a minute. There we go. Got some good licking. There we go. Just get a really good stretch of those muscles that are going over the top of his pole. I don't ride him, Don. He's not my horse. He's my client's horse. What did you find, Robin? Thank you, guys. We're up to 50 likes. I really appreciate that. All right. So sometimes, you know, I'll work on horses that are just super quiet and super sweet, and they just want to kind of be in your pocket the whole time, like Leroy was, which was the last horse I worked on, and Gravy, which was another horse I worked on this morning. And you can see Gravy's adjustment on my TikTok. But there's other horses too that are quiet, and they're not necessarily sweet. They're just quiet, and that's him. Like, he's not in my pocket. He's not rubbing his face on me. He's not putting his muzzle up on my beard. He's not a sweet horse. He's just a quiet horse, and that can be a good and a bad thing, right? Because this guy could just be bundling up all of his emotion, right? All of his worry and everything inside, and just keeping it pushed down and pushed down and pushed down and pushed down. And people will say, well, he's desensitized and that's why he's quiet. Well, he's not necessarily desensitized. He's just been forced with the wrong kind of training to push down his reaction to certain things. And sometimes with horses like this, even though they seem very quiet, it's just a matter of time before they get too much stimulation or something really worries them or scares them, and then they blow up, right? It's like a ticking time bomb type of a thing, where I'm not necessarily saying that that's the case with him, but with horses like him that aren't sweet, they're just quiet and still. Sometimes you got to be a little bit more vigilant with these guys and just kind of be prepared, because it's like, you know, if they had negative or emotional reactions to things when they were younger and they got beaten for that, or, you know, some stuff happened to them as a result of their reactions to things, they'll learn not to react, but inside they're still experiencing that trauma. So, you know, their threshold is raised, or I should say lowered, to the point where it's not going to take a whole lot to set them off. So, you know, that's just one thing you got to be concerned about if you have a quiet horse that's not necessarily a sweet horse. Oh, he's a little guy. He's probably 15-1 maybe. Mark, each session is about 30 minutes. Yeah, freedom. I mean, it definitely forces you to use muscles you don't normally use, and those will get stronger over time. This leg, front foot looks good. Good boy. And you can see with him, look, his ears are very focused, right? He's listening very intently to me. His eyes are looking at me. You know, his ears aren't flat, his eyes aren't relaxed, his face isn't relaxed. He's just kind of balled up, right? He's quiet, but he's balled up. And you kind of hope that, you know, if I get the opportunity to work on him a few times, you know, that he'll start learning to relax a little bit and kind of enjoy this. But right now, you know, his head isn't changing position. And a lot of times when I work on, and I would say most of the time, when I work on a horse's legs, when I start that stretch, they'll drop their head and they'll start to relax. Sometimes they'll put their head on their leg or on my hands. They'll sit here and start licking their lips and taking deep breaths, but not him. He's just staying in one position the whole time. There. That fetlock feels really good. Good boy. Oh, he's a good boy. To me, he just feels like a horse that if he does the wrong thing, he's gonna get punished. It's kind of a sad feeling with this one. Thank you, Sabrina. Appreciate it. Police will buy it. I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, he's a good-looking boy, though, for sure. Ooh, nice release in that shoulder. Oh, there we go. Bring that leg up and out like this. There we go. What's also interesting, though, about YouTube versus TikTok is I have like 730,000 followers on my TikTok account and just under 90,000 in my YouTube account. And I'll have more people watching my YouTube lives than I will my TikTok lives. So it's another strike against YouTube, against TikTok rather. The only thing I like about the TikTok lives is that I can scroll over and make the comment section full screen. Whereas on YouTube lives, I can't do that. So I always got to come up here and read them because the text is so small. When did I learn all of this? I mean, the learning is a process, you know? I mean, I've just learned it over the years. I got my certification after I got my chiropractic license in 2016, but I mean, I'm still learning every single day. Yeah, I've had to report a client for abuse and for neglect. Yep. How can I find you on TikTok? It's sport.horse.chiropractic. Thank you for asking. Thank you, Tornado. Appreciate that. He's a good boy. All right, let's check his. Oh, good boy. Let's check his hind legs here. I think you guys can see. Let me move him this way a little bit. Good boy. Good boy. He just needs some loving. But look at that, man. That extension is beautiful on that right hind. Before, he was only bringing that leg back maybe to here when I asked him, and now he's a 1.5 feet back. So that's the kind of stuff I love to see. Oh, there we go. Beautiful release in that hip. Let's check the other side. There we go. See, he's just so hesitant and just kind of worried. Just a sad, kind of a sad situation with this guy, I think. Oh, you're a good boy.